Hi, my name's Deb Marnie and I'm from Aussie Maille. Welcome to our chainmail tutorial channel. Hey guys, a big hi, hello, how are you? So pleased to see you here. Thanks for popping along and sharing your day with us. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do a weave called Celtic Cross weave. Obviously it's a variation of the Celtic weave, so if you've done the Celtic weave before you'll have no problems at all doing this one. And even if you haven't done the Celtic weave, it's quite a simple weave. I'd aim it at experienced beginners. So it's still worth watching the video and checking out. I'm sure you'll surprise yourself. Alright guys, let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so here's a couple of sample pieces of the Celtic Cross weave to show you today. So this one here is done in 14 gauge AWG and 16 gauge AWG. This one is 16 gauge AWG and 20 gauge AWG rings. So these ones here, just to tell you what the ring sizes are. So these bright aluminium rings here are 14 gauge AWG, which is 1.6 millimeter diameter wire, and they have a ring ID of 7.5 millimeters. The anodized rings, the coloured rings, are 16 gauge AWG, and they have a ring ID of 3/16 of an inch or 4.76 millimeters. And finally, the smaller bright aluminium rings up here, they are also in 16 gauge AWG with a ring ID of 3.75 millimeters. Okay, the smaller one, the larger rings here are 16 gauge AWG with a ring ID of 5.75 millimeters. The rings here in the middle here are 20 gauge AWG, which is 0.8 millimeter wire. It has a ring ID of 3.5 millimeters. And finally, the small rings are 20 gauge as well, and they have a ring ID of 2.5 millimeters. So all that information will be down below in the description. So if you didn't catch that, don't worry about it. I will be showing you today how to create this weave in the 14 and 16 gauge. It just holds its shape a little bit better than the thinner weave. The thinner weave's okay, but sometimes some of the rings move slightly out of alignment. I find that this one holds the shape of the weave much better. Okay, so to start this weave, we're just going to do a base chain that is one large ring, so these are the 7.5 millimeter, so the largest rings, and one medium ring. In this case, that's our anodized aluminium ring in the 3/16 of an inch. So you just want to make up a chain that goes one large, one medium, one large, one medium, and you'll need that to go to the length that you require your bracelet to be. So whatever that ends up being, take it to that length. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead now and finish up making that simple chain. So you go ahead and do that as well. And once you've reached the length that you require, I'll meet you back here and I will show you what the next step is. Okay, and you'll need to have an uneven amount of large rings. So just make sure when you're getting to the length you need that you have an uneven amount of large rings. Otherwise, the pattern won't quite work out the way you want it to. Okay, so I'm only making up a short sample piece, but as I said, you will take this to the length that you need your bracelet to be. Okay, and now if you've got a twist tie or a paper clip or something, I just usually pop it in one end, just gives me something to hang on to. It's not 100% necessary, but if you've got one, I find it helps. Okay, so we've got our very simple chain here now with our large and medium rings, and what we want to do now is we need to pre-close some of our large rings, and we need to have 2 pre-closed rings for every medium ring that you've got in your chain. Okay, so if you've got 15 medium rings in your chain, you'll need to pre-close 30 of your large rings. Okay, so if you just go ahead now and pre-close the amount of rings in the large rings, so in this case the 7.5mm ID rings, if you go close them up now, and I will show you the next step in this weave. Okay, so I've gone ahead and pre-closed some of my large rings, and what we need to do next is taking up one of your medium rings, open that up, pop on 2 of your pre-closed large, and then we want to go to our first large ring in our chain back here at the beginning, and we want to feed our opened medium ring through that first large ring in our chain, close it up. Okay, so our work looks like this, and then what we want to do, we want to position these 2 rings that we just added so that they sit one on each side of our chain and they encircle that medium ring there. Okay, can you see that? So we've got one on each side and they go around our medium ring that's in our chain. Now, holding that in place, take up an opened medium ring and see how this one here is sort of sitting through all 3 rings up here in the top part of this eye where all our rings overlap. We want to do that in all 4 corners, let's say. So we just go straight through all 3 rings, make sure we pick all 3 of them up, and we close that up. Okay. And then we flip our work over so the other side is now on top, or the bottom is on top, and we want to place 2 more rings in these spots here. Okay, so again, taking up one of our medium rings, making sure that our ring in the chain is positioned there in the center correctly. Okay, we then feed that through those 3 rings, close it up. Okay, and then do that once more. So we've got 1 ring going through, say, every corner. I know it's a circle, it doesn't really have corners, but you know what I mean. So get in there and close that all up. Okay, now you want to be making sure that this ring here is in the middle of the rings that you just added. Sometimes that can slip out of place and make it difficult to close these rings here. So if you're having difficulty closing these rings, just double check the positioning of this ring here. Make sure that that's in the middle of it all. Okay, so we just want to keep doing that down the length of our bracelet. So again, taking up a medium ring, popping on a couple of our pre-closed large rings. We go to the second ring here, okay, put our medium ring through that, close it up, okay, flip your work, or flip those pairs of rings so you've got 1 on each side of your chain, okay, and then holding them in place, we want to place another locking ring in that top part of the eye there. So taking up a medium ring, we feed it through that eye, making sure we pick up all 3 of our large rings, close it up, okay, and your work should look like this. So turning our work over so that we can get to the other edge, we again want to place those medium rings into those eyes so that we finally lock our large rings into place. So just take up a medium ring, make sure that this center ring is in position properly in the chain, and feed that through all 3 rings, close it up, okay, just double checking, making sure everything's looking good before we place our last medium ring. Okay. So this is known as Celtic visions. This is how you would create a Celtic vision weave. So you just do that all the way to the end of your bracelet. And I will show you when you finish that what the next step is. Okay, so you've gone through and you've added all those extra rings and you've created Celtic vision. And our next step is to make the cross shape. So what we're going to do with this, we're going to take up our small ring, which in this case is the 16 gauge AWG 3.75mm ID ring, and we're going to go to the second of these large rings in our initial chain. So this is our first, this is our second, and we're going to just feed that through the ring there at the top. Okay, so we've just got that one ring sitting in there, and then what we're going to do is taking up another of our small rings, we're going to go through one medium ring here, through our small ring, and then through the other medium ring here. Alright, so we just do that, picking up all three of those rings. Okay, close our work up, and we want that to sit, say, on the front of, you can see our middle ring done in there. We want that to sit at the front of that. We want to turn our work over, and we want to do the same on the other side, so that we've got a small ring at the top sitting on either side of our middle large ring there. Okay, and close that up. Alright, so this is what our work is starting to look like. Now we need to do those steps down here on the other side of our weave, so we're going to flip that over and just repeat all those steps. So add a ring on our second large ring in our original chain. Okay, close that up, then taking up another of our small rings, feed it through one medium ring on one side, that small ring, and the next medium ring there. So just going through all of those three rings, picking them all up, close your ring up. With that ring sitting on the front of your weave, we want to turn it over and put another ring into the same path, but on the other side of the large ring there. So just feed it through all three of those rings and do it up. Okay, and that's it. That's the Celtic Cross. So to place the next one, we go down 1, 2, okay, and we pop our next small ring in there. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're always leaving a space. We don't pop another small ring straight in there. We go down, we miss one, we go down to the next in line, and we just repeat the same steps. We add a small ring to our large ring, and then taking up another small ring, and we go through these three rings here. So one medium, one small, one medium ring. Okay, so it's through those three rings, close it up. Okay, so our work looks like this. So that's sitting on the front of that large ring there in the middle. So we turn our work over and we pop one in the other side. So let's do that now. Through those same three rings, just on the other side of our work. Okay. And then we want to do the same down here on the bottom. So flip that up, put a small ring through our large ring there, close it up, and then join those three top rings together. Okay, so one through the medium, one through the small, one through the next medium, making sure it's all in line here. Close it up. Okay, with that ring sitting at the front of our weave, we want to flip it over to the other side and we want to add another ring in there. So we'll do that now. Okay. And that's our work so far. So you would just keep doing that down the length of your bracelet until you've placed all of those small rings. Okay, so our next one would go in here and etc. until you get your finished bracelet. And then it's just a case of adding another one of the 3/16 or even the 3.75mm ring, whichever you like, onto each end and popping a clasp onto it to finish your bracelet off. But that's it. That's your finished Celtic Cross weave. Okay guys, well that's it. That's the tutorial for today. I hope you enjoyed it and you found it useful. If you did find it useful, don't forget to give us a thumbs up here at YouTube, share our video. Any comments or questions you may have, drop them in the comment section below the video. If you'd like to offer us some support and you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel and hit that bell while you're at it so that you get notification every time we upload some content. Alright guys, so as I said, I hope you enjoyed the video today and that we'll see you again sometime in the very near future. Bye now.